All right, today we are stepping into the orchard to solve a tiny but pretty devastating mystery. Think of it as a classic whodunit, where the crime scene is your fruit and the evidence left behind is, well, it's a very peculiar signature. So let's dive in and take a look at our first clue.
So, have you ever seen this before? A perfect little half-moon scar just etched right into a young plum or a peach. I mean, it's almost too neat, right? It's too precise to be just some random damage from a branch. No, this is a calling card, a clue left behind by a very, very clever culprit. And that brings us to our central question. Who or what is doing this?
Now, it's easy to look at that and think, it's just a cosmetic thing, a minor blemish. But I'm telling you, that could not be further from the truth. That little scar isn't just a mark, it's a sign. It's a sign that a destructive process is already kicked off inside that piece of fruit. You're really looking at a genuine ticking time bomb.
Okay, so to solve this mystery, we have to treat it like a proper investigation. We're going to start by examining the evidence we find at the crime scene and really understanding the full extent of the damage.
So let's get a closer look at that calling card. Notice it's not a sloppy bite mark. It looks almost surgical, doesn't it? It's always in that very distinctive half-moon shape. And you're going to find it on young, developing stone fruits, usually right after they've emerged from their blossom.
And this is where the problem really becomes twofold. On one hand, you've got the initial damage, right? The scar itself. But the real consequence, that comes a few weeks later. The infested fruit just stops growing, and the tree aborts it in a process that gardeners call the June drop. And just like that, your future harvest is all over the ground.
All right, we've seen the evidence. We know the damage. Now it is time to unmask our culprit. Let's build a profile of this tiny but incredibly destructive adversary.
So meet the Plum Curculio. It's a type of weevil, and it's tiny. We're talking only about 1/4 inch long, but it is an absolute master of disguise. Its mottled brown and gray body, with those 4 little humps on its back, makes it practically invisible against tree bark. Good luck spotting this thing.
And here is what makes this suspect so unbelievably frustrating to catch. It has this incredible defense mechanism called thanatosis. The second it senses danger, like you just shaking a branch, it plays dead. It tucks in its legs and snout, drops straight to the ground, and instantly becomes indistinguishable from a tiny piece of dirt or a dried-up bud.
So, we've identified our culprit, but this is where the story gets truly fascinating. We need to understand the motive. Why does the Plum Curculio go through all the trouble of carving this intricate crescent? It's time to reveal the secret behind the scar.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? If your goal is just to lay an egg inside the fruit, why not just chew a simple little hole and be done with it? The answer to this reveals an absolutely incredible feat of evolutionary engineering. It's just brilliant. You see, the weevil's #1 enemy isn't some predator, it's the fruit itself. Young stone fruits grow incredibly fast, and the internal pressure from that rapid expansion is immense. It's so strong, in fact, that it would easily crush a delicate little weevil egg. So how does the weevil solve this problem? Well, it performs this amazing 3-step surgical strike. First, the female chews a tiny hole and deposits a single egg. Then, and this is the genius part, she turns around and cuts that perfect crescent slit just underneath the egg. This cut creates a little flap, which basically creates a tiny pressure-free nursery for her egg, protecting it so it can safely hatch. It is absolutely brilliant. The egg is safe, but the story isn't over yet. The larva that hatches out of that egg now has a brand new problem. How does it get out of the fruit and down into the soil to complete its life cycle? Well, this is where that June drop comes back into play. So as the larva starts feeding inside the fruit, its munching actually causes the fruit to produce ethylene gas. This gas acts as a signal to the tree that something is seriously wrong, which triggers the tree to cut its losses and drop the fruit. But here's the crazy part. This isn't a tragic accident for the larva. This is a critical part of its master plan. That's right. The larva is essentially hijacking the tree's own defense system to stage its great escape. It wants to be dropped to the ground. Why? Because it needs to get into the nice, cool, damp soil to pupate, where it's safe from the hot sun and birds. The fallen fruit is basically its personal elevator down to the next stage of its life. Now that we understand the weevil's entire life cycle, from the Crescent Scar all the way to the escape, we can see the weak points, the places where we can intervene. So how do you fight back against such a clever little adversary? Let's look at an effective management plan. The key
is an approach called integrated pest management, or IPM. What that really means is you're not just relying on one method, you're using a combination of smart tactics that target different stages of the weevil's life. As you can see, we can physically remove the adults by jarring. We can break the life cycle with sanitation, deter them with clay, and even attack the larvae in the soil with biological controls.
Now, the jarring method is a fantastic way to turn the weevil's own defense against it. You go out in the cool, early morning when they're a little sluggish, you spread a white sheet under the tree, give the branches a good, firm tap, and they'll instinctively play dead and fall right down onto your sheet, ready for you to collect and destroy them. But jarring isn't enough by itself. Okay, the single most important thing you can do is orchard sanitation. That means picking up every single fallen fruit every day to destroy the larvae inside. You can also coat your trees in something called kaolin clay, which basically turns them into white ghosts and really confuses the beetles. Another powerful tool is applying beneficial nematodes to the soil to hunt down the pupating larvae. And hey, if you happen to have them, chickens and turkeys are expert weevil hunters.
So, the next time you're out in your orchard and you see that tiny crescent scar, you won't just see a blemish. You'll see a brilliant survival strategy in action. You'll see a warning sign. So the question is, now that you know the secrets of the Plum Curculio, what are you going to do to break the cycle and protect your harvest?